Compounding intervals. Compound interest calculates interest on both the principal and the accumulated interest of the investment. An annual percentage rate is the interest that is calculated throughout the year. The compounding frequency is the number of intervals that the annual percentage rate is divided into throughout the year. So we're going to investigate, using illustrations, the calculations of interest throughout the year, depending on the compounding frequency. So what happens when you increase compounding frequency? We're going to start off with our principal being $1,000, meaning that that is the amount that is deposited into the account and is accumulating interest throughout time. Our interest rate is 100%. As a decimal, that is 1.00. Remember that percent is a rate per 100, and this is the equivalent decimal value. And we can use decimal values to calculate a percent of a number by multiplying the decimal value times the amount. In each case, the duration is going to be 1 year of an investment, but we'll be adjusting the compounding frequency. Starting off with annual compounding intervals, meaning that at the end of the year, we'll calculate interest. The amount that is deposited is $1,000, and that's our principal. We're leaving $1,000 into an account untouched for 1 year, and at the end, we're going to get 100% of that amount back in interest. So the interest is 1.00 times 1,000, which would be $1,000. And the amount that's in the account is then the principal, so the starting value, which is $1,000 that we invested, and the interest that has accumulated. We've earned an additional $1,000, so altogether we have $2,000 at the end of 12 months. Adjusting the compounding frequency to semi-annually, meaning that we're calculating our interest twice per year. The sum of the intervals is 100, 50 plus 50 is 100. But let's take a look and track our calculation of interest throughout the year. So for the first 6 months, we're going to invest the $1,000. That's our principal that we're starting off with. And at the end of 6 months, halfway through the year, we'll calculate 50% for our interest. 0.50 times 1,000 is $500. So at the end of 6 months, we will have our original $1,000 we invested plus an additional $500. Altogether, that amount is $1,500. Then, for the second half of the year, all of the money is deposited, both the principal and the interest that's occurred. So the amount that's invested is $1,500. And at the end of 12 months, we'll take 50% as our interest rate and multiply that by the amount, $1,500, that was deposited during this interval to get $750. Notice that that's more than in the first period because during this interval, there was the principal plus the interest that has been accumulated that is calculating interest in the future. So therefore, it's a larger value than in the past. So altogether, our amount is $1,500 plus an additional $750, bringing us to $2,250, which is more than if we were to just calculate once at the end of the year. Another way to calculate is quarterly, so that's more frequent. That's 4 times per year. Looking at a principal of $1,000 being invested for the first 3 months, which is a quarter of the year, the total, or the sum of the interest calculation at each quarter is 100%. 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 is 100%. Annual percentage rate of 100%. But at the end of 3 months, we've invested $1,000 for 3 months, and we're going to calculate interest at 25% of that amount, which is $250. So the total amount at the end of 3 months is the principal that we've invested plus an additional $250, bringing us to $1,250. Then all of the money, both the principal and the interest that has accumulated in the past, is reinvested. We will take 25% of this amount at the end of the second quarter, which is 6 months. So 0.25, 25% of the amount that was invested, is equal to $312.50. As we would expect, the interest that is accumulated is more because it's based on both the principal and previous interest which has accumulated. So altogether, the total amount is the principal plus the interest. We had $1,250 and we had an additional $312.50 in interest that's accumulated during this period to bring us to $1,562.50 altogether. All of the amount is invested for the next quarter, the third quarter, and at the end of 9 months, we will take 25% interest, or we will add 25% interest. So the interest amount is 0.25 times that amount, which is $390.63. Notice that it's growing significantly. The amount is the principal plus the interest, so the amount that was invested during this interval plus the interest that has occurred during this interval, altogether $1,953.13. All of the amount is invested for the last quarter, from 9 months to 12 months, and at the end of 12 months, we'll take 25% of the amount that was invested. 0.25 times that amount is $488.29. Notice the progression of the amount of interest that is calculated at each interval due to the interest that's earned and accumulated throughout the process is being reinvested. The amount is the principal plus the interest. So this is how much was invested for this duration, and the interest that was added is $488.29 for this interval, altogether $2,441.42. So investigating the differences between different compounding frequencies and the total amount of interest that has been accumulated, 2,000 for semi-annually, we have 2,250, and then lastly for quarterly, 2,441.42. So as the frequency of compounding intervals increases, the total interest increases. As the compounding frequency increases, the total interest increases.